Hi, and welcome to another episode of Learning with Liebenhaut. Today we're going to be talking about consultative exams. So you're asking yourself, what do Social Security doctors look for? What is going to happen when I go and visit this Social Security doctor? Well, odds are you've got a Social Security case pending and you received a notice that you are going to have to go to a doctor appointment that's been arranged by Social Security. Generally, you got this message because the adjudicator who's working up your case has decided that there's not enough information available to them for one reason or another in your medical records, and they want to see what your residual functional capacity is. They want a doctor independently to meet with you and to take your physical and history, just like would happen at any other doctor's appointment, to do some clinical examinations on you. These are the types of things in a physical case, of course, that you've probably experienced at the doctor before. Various tests where you're moving your body in different directions, where they're pushing your arms or pushing your legs in different directions, or having you attempt to walk in certain ways. The doctor should not do anything that hurts you. And it may seem obvious, but if moving in a certain way hurts your body and the doctor is pushing you to do that, that is a bad thing. And most medical doctors know not to do that, but I've seen that a couple of times, and so don't feel like you have to let things happen if they're going to end up hurting you. Another thing, similarly, if you don't feel like you're treated fairly at that consultative examination, as soon as you leave, go ahead and write it down. Go ahead and make a statement. Maybe send an email to your attorney if you have an attorney. And he or she can turn that into a statement that you can sign, and it could be submitted later to the judge, or can be submitted right then to the adjudicator working up the case if there was a problem. If you only saw the doctor for 3 or 4 minutes and it makes you feel like there's no way they could know what they would need to know in that short period of time, or they said or did something that you felt was unfair, go ahead and write that down, and that way you can make a statement, and you know, that doctor's report is going to be part of your record, and so that doctor's perspective of what happened in that examination is contemporaneously filed as part of your case. And so if you feel like some things have happened that aren't fair to you, then you go ahead and make a contemporaneous record that can be added to your case as well. In the end, the only difference between this and another doctor's appointment is the purpose of this evaluation is not to come up with what should be done to treat you, like you usually think of when you see a doctor, but to give the adjudicator who's working up your case for Social Security their opinion on what your residual functional capacity is. So a couple of things that you should know. Number one, you have the option to have your own treating physician perform a consultative examination. Now, it's generally not done, and there's a bunch of practical reasons why that's difficult, and so a lot of times the adjudicator will just skip straight to asking if you'll go to a consultative exam with a Social Security doctor. However, technically, if you ask for your treating physician to perform the consultative examination, they've got to have a good reason why your primary care doctor or some other physician is not the appropriate person to be performing the consultative examination. However, if you're like most people, it will be someone who's not your treating physician who performs the examination. So people are nervous about it and want to know, you know, what are they looking for? You know, how should I act at this doctor's appointment? In general, you should treat it like you would any other doctor's appointment. And especially if you have a Social Security claim pending, that means make sure you're telling that doctor about everything that's going on with you. For example, if you've got a problem with your knee, but you know, the main reason that got you to apply for disability was your back, and so you're thinking about your back more than anything else, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't also talk about what's going on with your knee and make sure that you explain that to them, because you're going to have that history and physical done just like you would at a regular doctor's appointment. Another very important point. If you have relevant medical records, so maybe you had a x-ray report from a couple of years ago that shows some of the things that were wrong with you a couple of years ago, bring it in. Make sure that consultative examiner has a chance to see what another medical professional has said about your condition. These are particularly important for records that show the results of diagnostic tests. So if you have a nerve conduction study, a MRI, an x-ray, myelogram, any number of tests that have been performed, if you actually have the results, even if it's from 2 or 3 years ago, please bring those into that consultative examiner. I find that they appreciate having had a chance to review some of that information beforehand. I would say, oh, it seems like, and this isn't a number I'm pulling from any government source or anything, just from my own experience, it seems like about 10 to 20% of the time, as part of that consultative exam, they'll also perform some sort of specialized diagnostic, like an x-ray or pulmonary function testing, as part of the examination. That's not always done, but it's something that is available, so you'll want to ask the adjudicator directly if you don't have a lawyer, or have your lawyer ask the adjudicator if there's a more specific type of test or diagnostic that you'd like to have done. It doesn't mean that they'll agree to do it. For example, in my experience, you're not going to get an MRI, you're not going to get that nerve conduction study. It's cost prohibitive. But please, don't be shy to ask if you've got, if you've got a diagnosis of arthritis in the knee, but you've never had an x-ray of the knee, and your doctors are just kind of giving you that diagnosis based on the clinical signs and symptoms presenting themselves in the office visit, then ask for that x-ray. So we've talked about physical residual functional capacity and the consultative exams that are done by that physical doctor. The only other thing I would add there is, it's not uncommon for people to be watched from the time they park in that parking lot to the time they leave the exam by the doctor or someone from their doctor's staff. And that's fine. Just make sure that you're not doing anything differently when you're in that parking lot than when you're in the doctor's office, because you could bet that's going to be used against you if you do. As always, be truthful, be honest with the doctor, and share everything with them. We're going to be doing a session on what to expect when you meet with a Social Security psychologist, and you'll hear more about what happens in those examinations and how to prepare and how you should treat those examinations as well. Keep in mind, the consultative examiner is not necessarily someone who is against you. They are just a doctor there to do a job and come up with an evaluation of your functional capacity, how much you can lift, how long you can stand, how walking affects you, how you use your hands, whether you have anything that would get in the way of you being able to manipulate objects, those type of things. And so, they should be, for the most part, treated like any other doctor's appointment. And so long as you do that, you should be in pretty good shape. So I hope you've learned about what to expect when you go see a Social Security doctor for a consultative exam. We love doing the learning with Liebenhaut, and hope that we're adding value to your lives and you're getting something out of this. And please follow us on social media and check out our website. If there's anything that we can do to help you out with your disability case or any other area of law, give us a call. And don't forget, when in doubt, call Liebenhaut.